Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon.
Baby.
Good afternoon. Just letting a few people come on in. All right, guys. So I wanted to meet with you all because I kind of wanted to touch base with your progress in reading. I wanted to go ahead on and start up your lesson for today. We're going to be working on lesson 3 today. And when we get out of the meeting today, I want you to go on to Pearson and start your lesson 3 assignment. So this week, you should have looked at lesson 1 and lesson 2. So we're going to go into that, and you should have done your develop vocabulary and your check for understanding. So if you have not completed that, that needs to be completed today. So I opened up our story, our realistic fiction that we're reading for the week. So in the realistic fiction, make sure that when you go into that story, you have completed your developed vocabulary and your check for understanding. Okay, so you should have entered in your answers within your notebooks. Okay, I'm checking that. And you should have also answered your questions for your check for understanding. So there's a total of 4 questions you should have completed for this week. Some of us are still working. I see we have some work that is still being done that is in progress, which is good. I see you guys doing your very best. But I also want you to make sure that when you are answering your questions, you're answering in complete sentences, because I'm also looking to see that you are typing correctly. So this is not texting, this is typing in complete sentences. So make sure you guys are using capital letters, and make sure you guys are also punctuations. Okay? Do I have any questions, you guys, over what you should have been doing so far? All this stuff? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. Everybody should be in front of their computer or their phone or their tablet. They should be in a secluded area where they can listen carefully and pay close attention. So if you are not by yourself, or if you are not in an area where you can pay close attention, I need you to get there now. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that, please. All right. So for today, we are going to be looking at lesson 3, More specifically, we're going to be looking at the characters in our story. Okay? So in our story from Out of My Mind, when you open it back up today, we're not going to be in first read anymore. We're going to be in close read. So notice how here we have first read. If I click on close read, the first thing that pops up is analyze characters. So that is what we're going to be focusing on today. So I'm going to open that up. And again, if you want it to be played to you and listen to the audio, you may do so.
You can learn about a character through his or her thoughts, feelings, actions, and interactions with other characters. To learn more about a character, look at the details that the author chooses to include about a character. Examine the character's interactions with other characters. Then use these details to analyze and explain how characters develop in a story.
Okay. So again, we are paying close attention to the characters' thoughts, their feelings, their actions. Yes, sweetheart. Musa, you had a question? Okay. Can you say that again, sweetie? You're breaking up. Say it one more time. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. But if you have a question, just hold on to it 1 second, okay? So when we are analyzing characters, remember that means we are paying attention to the characters' thoughts, their feelings, their actions, how they interact with other characters. So when we say interact with other characters, meaning how are they talking with the other characters or how are they behaving with the other characters. So when we want to learn more about those thoughts and those feelings, we pay attention to the details that the author included about the character. So when we look at those details, that the author talks about the character, it helps us understand or see their thoughts and feelings. And if we look at their actions and what they're doing in the story, that also gives us more insight and more understanding of those characters. So in today's reading, this is our first close read, okay? Notice if I scroll down, it has the my turn. It says complete these close read tasks for Out of My Mind. Underline the parts that help you understand Melody, her character traits, and the changes she undergoes. Please put your stuff on mute, Ashlyn and Kaylee.
Yes.
And Louise, put your stuff on mute, please. And Yadexi, put your stuff on mute, please. Thank you. So what are we going to be doing in our close read for today? Well, if you notice under my turn, like I said before, it says underline the parts that help you understand Melody, her character traits, and the changes she undergoes. So we are going to be focusing on Melody within the story. And we are going to be paying attention to what she's thinking, what she might be feeling, some of the things she's saying, her actions, and how she is behaving with other characters in the story. So if you notice here, it wants you're going to be underlining. Okay, so just like we would do in our My View book, you would do the same thing, except you're going to be doing it online. So notice the first task says underline details in paragraphs 1 through 4 that tell about the challenges Melody faces. So what are some of the challenges she's going to be facing in paragraphs 1 through 4? So we're actually going to listen to the audio of paragraphs 1 through 4. And as we're listening to that audio, we want to pay attention to the details that tell about the challenges Melody faces. I'm going to highlight that for us. So what are some difficulties or some challenges that Melody might be facing? Okay, so let's listen.
From Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. Once I started school, however, I discovered I had a much bigger problem than just falling out of my chair. I needed words. How was I supposed to learn anything if I couldn't talk? How was I supposed to answer questions or ask questions? I knew a lot of words, but I couldn't read a book. I had a million thoughts in my head, but I couldn't share them with anybody. On top of that, people didn't really expect the kids of age 5 to learn much anyway.
Musa, please put your stuff on mute, sweetheart. Thank you.
Driving me crazy. I couldn't have been much more than 6 when Mrs. V figured out what I needed. One afternoon after school, after a snack of ice cream with caramel sauce, she flipped through the cable channels and stopped at a documentary about a guy named Stephen Hawking. Now, I'm interested in almost anything that has a wheelchair in it. Duh. I even like the Jerry Lewis telethon. Turns out Stephen Hawking has something called ALS, and he can't walk or talk, and he's probably the smartest man in the world, and everybody knows it. That is so cool.
All right, so here we're talking about Miss Melody. Who can tell me what are some challenges Melody's facing? What did we find out about her? What did we find out about Melody in these first 4 paragraphs? Alexa, Kaylee, Musa.
Yeah.
What did we find out about Melody in the very first paragraph? Can you turn that music down, please? Thank you.
You put the audio? She can hear me?
Yes.
Somebody has the music in the back. They need to not turn it on.
Oh yeah, I just talked about that. Musa, is that you? I need that music to stay off, please, because everybody else can't hear what we're doing.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. All right, so I'm going to read that paragraph to you guys again. Now, remember, we're looking for Melody's challenges. What's happening with her? It says, once I started school, however, I discovered I had a much bigger problem than just falling out of my chair. I needed words. How was I supposed to learn anything if I couldn't talk? How was I supposed to answer questions or ask questions? So what can someone tell me about that paragraph? What's a challenge for Melody in that first paragraph? What couldn't she do?
She couldn't talk.
She couldn't talk, okay? Let's go to the next paragraph. It says, I knew a lot of words, but I couldn't read a book. I had a million thoughts in my head, but I couldn't share them with anybody. On top of that, people didn't really expect the kids in H5 to learn much anyway. It was driving me crazy. I couldn't have been much more than 6 when Mrs. V figured out what I needed. One afternoon after school, after a snack of ice cream with caramel sauce, she flipped through the cable channels and stopped at a documentary about some guy named Stephen Hawking. Now I'm interested in almost anything that has a wheelchair in it. Duh. I even like the Jerry Lewis telethon. Turns out Stephen Hawking has something called ALS, and he can't walk or talk, and he's probably the smartest man in the world, and everybody knows it. That is so cool. So what else did we find out about Melanie? We see that she can't talk. What else might be her challenge? I can't hear you, Kaylee.
She can't walk.
She can't walk. So who is somebody she's relating to that also cannot walk or talk?
Jerry Lewis.
Okay, the Jerry Lewis telethon. And who else? You got part of it. There was somebody she was talking about that she said was probably the smartest man in the world in paragraph 4. Who is she talking about? I'll read it again. It says, look at paragraph 4. It says, now I'm interested in almost anything that has a wheelchair in it. Duh. I even like the Jerry Lewis telethon. Turns out Stephen Hawking. Yes, Stephen Hawking. So turns out she's also relating to him because he is also somebody who cannot walk or talk like her. Now remember, in our mission, look at our mission to the right. They want us to underline details in paragraphs 1 through 4 that tell about the challenges Melody faces. So if we look back at paragraph 1, she clearly states that she cannot talk. So right here it says, how was I supposed to learn anything if I couldn't talk? So what I'm going to do is highlight that, and then I'm going to click on underline, and my underline shows up in my text. Now I can have a yellow, pink, green, or blue. Anything that you choose. You can also type an annotation here. I'm going to keep it blue. I'm going to say this shows that Melody can't talk. I'm just going to save that just for my own purpose. So then can anybody give me another detail in paragraphs 1 to 4 that show about Melody's her challenges? Where else are they showing that Melody might have some challenges? Or giving us a clue about it? Samara? I want you to take a look. I can still see you guys. I don't know if y'all know that. But I want you to really pay attention to the details in this story. So this is what you're going to be working on today. These details in your first close read. So again, we found one challenge of hers. If we go down to paragraph 2, it says, I knew a lot of words, but I couldn't read a book. That's a detail right there that is a challenge for her. Again, it's saying she couldn't do it. So she couldn't talk. She couldn't read a book. We're going to click underline, blue. And she continues to say, I had a million thoughts in my head, but I couldn't share them with anybody. On top of that, people didn't really expect the kids in H5 to learn much anyway. So again, here are some details in our story that's also telling us some of her challenges. So I'm going to underline those too. Okay. Then if I look at paragraph 3, I couldn't have been much more than 6 when Mrs. V figured out what I needed. One afternoon after school, after a snack of ice cream with caramel sauce, she flipped through the cable channels and stopped at a documentary about some guy named Stephen Hawking. Now I'm interested in almost anything that has to do with a wheelchair in it. So this sentence right here is an indication that she is interested in things about wheelchairs. Why might she be interested about things in regards to a wheelchair?
Because she can't walk.
Yes, very good, Ashlyn. Because she cannot walk. It says, duh, I even like the Jerry Lewis telethons. Turns out Stephen Hawking has something called ALS, and he can't walk or talk. So this is another indication showing her challenges. I'm going to highlight it, click underline, click my blue color, and that is my first task that I completed. I just showed Melody's challenges. Let's take a look at the next one. It says, underline the details in paragraphs 27 through 34. So now we will pay close attention as we continued on reading. We would pay close attention to paragraphs 27 through 34. And we're looking at something that tells how Melody experiences music. So we're going to be paying close attention to how she interacts when she listens to music. How is that different for her? Because remember, here is a child who cannot walk or talk. So think about that. How could somebody who cannot walk or cannot talk interact with music? How would that look for them? They're unable to dance because they're in a wheelchair, and they might not be able to sing along to the words because they are unable to talk. So how would someone who cannot walk and cannot talk interact with music, or how would they listen to music? Because it would definitely be something a little bit different from how we're used to interacting with music. When we hear music, we typically are able to sing along, right? If we hear a song we like, we can sing along to that song. If we hear a song we like, we can dance and move our feet, right? So it would be a little bit different for her because here she is, someone who can't sing along to the words, like I said earlier, and can't dance necessarily using her feet. So what you're going to be doing today is, as you're reading that, you're going to look and really see how she experiences that music, okay? And then the next one, it says, underline details in paragraphs 35 through 37 that help you understand how Melody interacts with Mrs. V. So this time you would look at paragraphs 35 through 37. Gonna highlight that for us. But now they want to know, how does Melody interact with Mrs. V? So how does she communicate basically with Mrs. V if she's unable to talk to her? She is not able to speak. So what could be a way she communicates with Mrs. V? That's what you're going to be finding out today. Okay? So for your assignment today, for your close read, I only want you to answer number 1. Okay? So you are doing your underlining of how Melody interacts with different situations in her life. Okay? If you would like to move forward and continue with your close read, you can go to number 2 and complete that as well. Now, if we look at number 2, it first says text evidence. Use the parts you underline to complete the notebook activities. So as you finish up your underlining with your text evidence of how Melody experienced music and how she interacts with Mrs. V, in question 2, they want you to focus on Melody. Okay, I'm going to highlight her in pink. And they want you to give details about Melody's thoughts and feelings. So they want you to explain in your notebook what are some of her thoughts and feelings, and she expresses that within the story. In B, you're going to describe Melody's actions. So what are some things that she does in the story? In C, you're going to describe interactions with other characters. So how does Melody behave with other characters in the story? And in D, this is a little bit more challenging, but I think you guys can handle it. What are the changes Melody undergoes in the story? So when we look at a character's changes, we want to see how were they at the beginning of the story and how did they change at the end of the story. That is your challenge. Explaining how were they acting when we first started reading the story to how are they acting towards the end of the story. Did they change in any way? So if you remember when we read Men of Mississippi, and we were talking about Min the little turtle. If we remember the beginning of that story, Min was a very tiny, very small, very scared baby turtle. And any and everything frightened her. But as we continue to read about Min, towards the end, we noticed a change in her. She got older, she grew a little bit bigger, and she wasn't afraid anymore. She was not afraid to protect herself from predators or any other thing. Remember, towards the end, the boys who tried to go swimming in the little pond that she was in thought she was a monster because she was very, very much in protective mode, protecting herself. She wasn't afraid of anything bigger than her anymore. So we want to figure out, how does Melody change in this story? Okay, how does something in her change from where it was in the beginning to where it is towards the end? And that is what you are going to be working on. So as soon as we get off, I want you to start your first close read and complete your underlining tasks. I already did the first one for you, so all you have to do is read through to paragraphs 27 through 34 and down to 35 through 37 and underline how Melody experiences music and how she interacts with Mrs. V, meaning how does she behave with Mrs. V? What are her actions like with her? So you're going to be underlining those details in your close read for today. And if you want to move forward, you can go ahead on and answer the questions in your notebook that I've highlighted for you here. So again, all of this can be found in your close read tab. So if you open up your assignment, you can click on close read, and the first one is analyze characters. That is what we're focused on. And that is where you will find your assignment. Okay. Also, I want to remind you guys that you need to make sure you are getting onto Success Maker every day for reading and math. So you can do that after you have completed your close read, or you can do that before you complete your close read for today. I'm going to stop sharing. Do I have any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to, once we get off, I'm gonna have this, this Zoom is being recorded. So once we're finished, and once this is loaded, I'm gonna upload this to YouTube and send you guys the link. So if there's something you might have missed or something you need to look back at,
Miss Welch.
you can use this video to watch it. Yes, Ash?
Are we about to finish?
Yes, we're almost finished. But again, oh, I also want to remind you guys that if you have not started your endangered species project, remember it's due on April 30th. And in order to turn that into me, you can send me a picture of the project through Remind of what you wrote and your diorama. If you're having some difficulties with some supplies, like a shoebox,
Yeah.
you can use a cereal box instead. If you have just an extra, any type of cardboard box laying around the house, you can cut that into a smaller box and use that if you can. If you are, when you're creating the habitat for your endangered animal, you can draw a picture, cut it out, and paste it in the box. You don't have to necessarily go out and buy fake little trees or fake little animals. I want you to be creative with
She
it.
said April 30th.
Yes.
April 30th, yes. So you can use things you have around the house and be creative with them and draw on them and cut them out and paste them. So April 30th is the due date, so you still have another week. If you have any questions for me in regards to that assignment or that project, you know you can contact me at any time. I'm available throughout the day, and I'll answer as quickly as possible. Lady, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. My
Go
question
ahead,
is,
sweetie.
so are we
Hold
like
on.
are writing about the endangered animal instead of the computer and then you print it out?
So I don't want you to just go and print it out. I want you to summarize the information. You don't have to print out the whole information about it. Just take the important parts from what you see
Gosh.
online. Okay?
Okay.
So remember, I'm gonna you have the paper or the that shows what you need to write about.
Yes.
So you're only answering those questions on that paper. What does the endangered animal eat? What is their habitat like? Why are they endangered? Like, what is the reason they're endangered? Okay. So you don't need to print out a whole page after page on everything, but I do want you to hit those key points about your endangered animal. Why is this animal endangered now? Like, what has happened to its environment or its habitat to where it's facing extinction? Okay. All right. Let's see. Hey, you had a question?
Yes. Is Mr. Sosa's portrait and yours the same?
Yes, it's for both of us. So for me, that is your reading and writing grade. For Mr. Inestrosa, that is your science grade.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so it's for both of our classes. Oh, nice, Samantha. Good job. So send me a picture of that, Sam, when you get a chance so I can document it, okay? But that
Wait,
looks
can we see?
beautiful. Hold on, let me see if I can share. 1 second, guys. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. All right, Samantha, go ahead. Can y'all see her?
Wait.
You see?
Wait, I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
No, I can't see.
So that is Samantha's habitat.
No, we can't
Oh,
see.
nice, Jared. And that's Jared's habitat in his shoebox. Y'all are doing amazing jobs on your projects. Let me tell you, every person who's turned in their project to me, it's looked awesome. So yes, that is an example of showing. Notice how Samantha drew the trees on her shoebox. So if you don't have things, you can draw them and cut them out. And she used cotton balls for the clouds. That's really, really nice. Okay, and the sun, that looks really good. Jared, yours looks really good too. So if you haven't started on that, guys, make sure you start on it as soon as possible so you can have enough time to make it really look the way you want it. Okay.
Samantha's project is really pretty.
Yeah, it is in her the sheet. So notice how she wrote out her information about her animal. So she went online and she got the information from online, and then she took that information and she wrote it out. Okay, so that's what you guys can do. I don't want you to just go and print out some work and just be done like that. I want you to practice your handwriting. Okay, when's the last time you wrote something? Think about it. Okay, and Kaylee, you still have a question for me?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let me lower your hand then. All right, well, that's it for today, you guys. If you have any questions on today's assignment, you can ask me. I want you guys to keep being very diligent. I'm very proud of you all who have completed all of the assignments that I've given you. Good job. If you haven't completed everything, you are still getting time to finish those Pearson assignments, okay? So let me know if you need any help. Again, I'm gonna post this video in Remind when it's done loading. So if you need to go back and look at what I went over with you, just click on that video, okay? And if you still have questions, just let me know. And remember, Success Maker, I'm gonna keep bringing it up every time we get on a meeting. Success Maker needs to be practiced, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, you guys have a good afternoon. We will probably meet tomorrow as well, just to see if you guys have any questions, but you're probably gonna be meeting in small group with, some of you might be meeting with Ms. Yarba. So we'll see, okay?
Miss Welch,
Yes, Nancy.
do we post our name if we were in the meeting?
Oh, it's Ashlyn. Yes. Oh, thank you for reminding me about that. Who's that, Ashlyn?
Yes.
Yeah, so don't forget to post your name. This is your attendance, okay? So and you get extra points for attendance and coming to class, of course. So I want you to keep that in mind. So if you came to the meeting, please put your name in Remind and say I was in the meeting, okay? All right, if there are no more questions, we're done for today. So either get on Success Maker or
Miss, I have a
start your
question.
Pearson assignment.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Louise.
Are we still doing class dojo? Like, do we still get dojo points?
I can see if I can work that in and see if I can post that and remind to see who's getting the most points and do some type of virtual prize. Would y'all like that?
Okay, yeah.
All right, so I'll see if I can work something out on that. That's
Miss
a good
Welch,
idea, Louise. Yes, you said something.
Miss Welch,
Yes, Ashley.
when we come back from our, are you gonna repeat the grade?
If you are doing everything you need to do, Miss Ashlyn, the answer is no. You come back, you will be in 5th grade.
I don't wanna be in 5th grade.
You don't want to go to 5th grade?
No, I wanna stay with you.
Well, who knows? Maybe I might keep up with you guys. I don't know.
You need more practice because even though we're doing our Zoom meeting, it's still hard.
I know. I understand. So I'm trying to work with it as best as I can. So again, Ashlyn, if you have questions for me about assignments, you need to ask me and we can work on it, okay? So do not be afraid to ask me questions. I can set up one-on-one meetings with you guys too. If you want to work with me one-on-one, we can set up a one-on-one meeting, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, guys. I'll talk with you all later, okay?
Okay.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye. Miss you.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, villagers.
Bye, Samara.